It's the iconic KBT starter of Meteorot 9 on the 3DS, the KBT packing both the heat and the firepower. It is KBT12 Jhuk, coming to the game with a kit of Charge Buster, Power Rifle, Mega Gatling, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Bullet Rain, which buffs damage and success of all equipped shooting parts on the build if the number equipped exceeds that of the targets. Now, as mentioned, it is really nice to see Jhuk make his official grand debut into the game as a pullable model. Now, we actually have seen him in the past as an enemy target on some events times past, but this is going to be his first time becoming a model that can be pulled for and collected by players. So this is definitely a great chance for him. He also sporting a lot of very high power shooting moves that honestly puts him on the same tier, I'd argue, as Beetle. And in some cases, I would even argue that Jhuk is even better suited for utility than Beetle himself. Even though both he and Beetle are packing Power Rifle and Mega Gatling, they are both non-heavy moves in this case, but two particular advantages that Jhuk has over Arc is the fact that he has Charge Buster with 4 charges instead of Arc's prominence at only 1, and Jhuk also has a leg ability that's better friendly and geared towards packing that extra punch behind each bullet than Arc's that simply buffs his success rate and likelihood of landing a critical hit, which of course is still good in its own right. But, of course, just to break it all down for you folks, Charge Buster is a standard shooting-based move that draws upon currently charged Metaforce gauge for its extra power, and then after use, it will consume a small amount of charge. At 5-star, it will only eat 5%. Power Rifle is a standard shooting attack that has a times 1.5 damage bonus if the legs of the user are intact. Same with Mega Gatling with the times 1.5 damage bonus, but of course Gatling also has that scattered AoE where it hits 1 part normally and 2 parts at random for 1/3 of your total damage. So the only serious drawback that Jhuk really has here is the fact that between Power Rifle and Mega Gatling, he does honestly face that risk of being punished very heavily whenever he's not attacking or on his cooldown phase, as both of those moves put him in a no defend, no evade state until he finishes his cooldown. So that will be one particular pain point with using him, but in the long run, he honestly is pretty well-rounded as a conventional... Actually, I'd even conventional shoot nuker, for more or less, because of the high power that Power Rifle and Mega Gatling have. Pairing his metal off with, say, a Hunter or Sniper nature for that Metaforce sustain can very easily and very quickly feed into him using Charge Buster as maybe a finisher move, or a high power nuke move to help turn the tables if one of his arms go down, so that he can get that Metaforce sustain going and draw upon the use of Charge Buster as an additional move in the case that the Power Rifle or the Mega Gatling cannot be used. Jhuk is also packing some rather solid armor across the board too, about 3550 for his head, about 3100 per arm, and almost 3800 for his legs. Now he's probably not going to be super fast as we're looking here at the 736 for his mobility, and he's not going to be very adept at dodging either, as noted by the 833 for his evade stat. He might be hurting just a little bit with melee resist as well at 739, but he will be absolutely tanking hits like a champ from fellow shooters with that 1479 with the shoot resist. So honestly, across the board, as I said, I would argue that Jhuk is probably a more conventional and utilization-friendly Beetle in this case, especially for folks that really wanted to go after Arc when he made his run and his debut, but unfortunately were not able to snag him. As a pure set score across the board, I would rate him a very solid 7.5 out of 10, and in some cases even maybe an 8 or even an 8.5, because of the reasons stated above. He's got some very high base power, and then the damage bonuses on top of that. He's got some solid armor to back him up with it too. Pretty decent leg stats all around, not the greatest, but definitely in that nice sweet spot for sure. And then of course he also is capable of Metaforce sustain to help further feed his head uses if you pair it off with a Hunter or Sniper nature metal. As a mixed parts score, I would very equally rate him about a 7.5 out of 10 minimum. Again, for reasons stated above. High power, good armor, solid stats across the board. Very solid, like I mentioned, alternative for Beetle users or wanters that didn't quite have a chance to get him. But between the two of them, I'd probably find myself in Team Jhuk faster than I would Team Arc, just primarily for that survivability and extended use case, especially since Jhuk has 4 head uses as mentioned, whereas Beetle, even if he may have a higher base power, is literally just a one and done with that prominence.